Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is Dr. Michael Turner. And Dr. Turner, but I'm going to call him Michael since we've gotten to know each other a little bit better now. That he has quite an interesting background, and I'm actually going to let him tell us about that because I personally always find it more interesting when the guest tells me about themselves instead of me reading their bio. So welcome, Michael, and it's great to have you here and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Susan. Very glad to be here. I enjoy this kind of thing very much. Well, the backstory on me, I guess, as regards health and wellness in particular, would be I was raised in a healthy home for the most part. So my mom is a former hippie who literally went to Cal in the 60s and did protests and like all of that. Yeah, she worked at a natural food store in college. And so when I was raised, there was pretty much no sugar in the house. There's a famous story when I was 5 years old, my mom would never allow me to have Twinkies or little Hostess cupcakes, right? And other kids at school would have that stuff in their lunch, and I'd have, grapes or something like that for my snack. And so I would really obsess about these Twinkies and things. And I'd go to kids' house and spend the night, and I'd ask if they had Twinkies and that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, there was me at 5 years old one time in the market, and I broke away from my mom. I went to the Twinkies aisle, and I was staring at the box of Twinkies and just kind of obsessing over this, right? And it was just mesmerizing me. And I'm looking around, make sure no one's watching. I dive into this box. Yes, I tear open a Twinkie or two. My mom comes around the corner at just the right time. She's aghast, of course, shocked, embarrassed. Like, what are you doing? And so I actually, like a good mom, but she also marched me right up to the store manager. I had to apologize, the whole thing. Deeply ashamed of that day on many levels, but that was in a good way though, a healthy childhood, but without sugar, without video games, playing sports, reading, playing a musical instrument, that kind of thing. So I had a good childhood, and I think fairly healthy, thankful for that. In high school, I was very impacted by my health class. So I was just a sophomore at a regular public school, high school health class. It was actually really impactful. And I remember one day we wrote down everything that we ate in a given day, and we had to write down the ingredients, right? And the grams of sugar, grams of fat. And it was pretty eye-opening because I said, oh my gosh, I'm drinking 2 chocolate milks at recess and then a Snickers bar that I buy in between class. And, and then I get home and I do this and that. But I add that all up. It's oh my gosh, look at all this sugar, look at all the saturated fat. Look at all these ingredients that I can't even pronounce. What is this stuff,
Yeah.
So it actually jump-started a big change in my life. And so we didn't call it eating clean back then, right? That's kind of a newer phrase, but it was basically, I started eating clean. I was eating nothing but oatmeal and tuna and beans and, running 5 miles after school every day and lifting weights and all of this. So I got, over exuberantly, maybe zealous for a little bit of time, as a teenager is likely to do, but basically launched forward towards my personal health and wellness in a very internal way at that point. It was no longer just my mom. It was I wanted to own it. I wanted to be healthy. And then as I went through my training, I went to Stanford undergrad, studied human biology. It was fantastic. Took some time off between then and med school on purpose. And by the time I finished Stanford, I was just tired of studying, tired of taking tests. Frankly, I was feeling kind of burnt out. And I thought, I'm in no shape to go to med school and keep up this pace. I got to take a minute. What do I like to do? Well, I liked to teach. I had done a lot of tutoring in college. I had also worked with youngsters as a summer camp counselor. So I was looking for a teaching job. So I connected with my buddy, Fresno, California, ended up being a 5th grade classroom teacher. And then went back. Yeah. And then came back to the Bay Area and taught 7th and 8th grade science. So that was very informative for me as well, because fast forward now to my medical career, I wear a hat of a teacher quite significantly, I would say, in what I do, very intentionally. I'm thinking, if I can help the person understand their situation the same way that I do, then they'd be as informed, as motivated, as capable of taking care of themselves as I'd love to see them. So every time I'm involved with someone, I imagine it as a download of information to try to get them to see it the way I do, so they can be motivated and informed to be their best self. So that's a bit about my background. I ended up going, after the teaching time, I went on to medical school at Harvard. Fantastic experience. Around that time, got married, had a child, went off to residency at the Mayo Clinic, and then we adopted 4 kids. So that rounded out the family.
Ah,
And
okay.
so, yeah, and onwards from there.
Okay, that explains the 5. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Having 5 of your own would be a little different.
Yeah, it would pose a few challenges, right? So we were blessed
Yeah,
to have 5 kids, but only have to deal with 1 pregnancy, let's just say, and so
there
that's
you go. Yeah,
we got off easy in some sense, definitely.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's that's neat, I think. I mean, I think it's great when people are willing to take that on,
Mhm.
you
Thank
know,
you.
with other kids. Yeah,
It was a
because
big
you
leap.
never,
It's a big leap of faith, but
yeah,
I'm so glad we did it. It's very rewarding. I think in my mind, the most poignant part of it, the most emotion would be encapsulated by the idea of you imagine a family picture, right? And
mhm.
if you imagine this child's got no one to appear in that family picture and say, hey, this is my mom or this is my dad, this
Uh,
person's standing with
yeah,
me, right? Like there's just an empty space there, right? But then
right.
the fact that my face gets to show up now in that picture and this person can say, this is me and my dad, and I remember,
Yeah,
this moment and this day, right? So that encapsulates. I get to put my face in a few pictures and be that person, which is so
yeah.
obviously comforting to all of us as we're raised.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And you can have such a big impact on future people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just little people, really.
It's really, well, the one way to think about it, this is just someone mentioned this to me recently, but they said, you should raise your children as if you are just raising future adults. You kind of have temporary
That's right.
stewardship over this future adult,
Yeah,
right? Which is the truth of the
yeah.
matter, frankly.
That's
So it
right.
changes your perspective. Yeah, you're just
Yeah,
temporarily shepherding this future adult and getting them
that's
off to a
right.
good start. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if you do a good job with it, then you'll be in their lives for the rest of their lives, and
Mhm.
vice versa. You
Yeah.
know, which is just I don't know. There's a lot of people who don't have good parents, and they spend a lot of the rest of their lives, kind of trying to recover from that.
Mm. True. Yep.
So you can pay it back. You know.
Yes. Yes. And there are other ways as well. Adoption is obviously
Yeah.
phenomenal. It's not for everyone, perhaps, but there's
Hmm.
volunteering at school, right? There's volunteering to
Yeah.
teach, coach Little League or do Girl Scouts or
Yeah.
any number of ways that young people will love to have someone who's just concerned come into their life. I think of my father, who was older, retired. He actually volunteered at a local public school in Santa Cruz to help with
Uh-huh.
their reading program. So he went down and read to kindergartners or first
Oh.
graders, something like that, for an hour every
Oh.
day. And my dad loved to read aloud. He had a very theatrical voice and presence.
Oh.
And
Uh-huh.
I thought it was just the coolest thing. And all the kids loved it, of course, so.
Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and that's one of those things I think that people don't think about, which is that if you have enthusiasm for something, then everyone around you will get enthusiastic about it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
it's
just,
catching.
yeah. And your dad doing that made it so that all the kids were like, it's so exciting. It's reading time.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
remember him reading to me when I was young and just
Uh,
being captivated. He'd do different voices for different characters, all that kind of thing. He made it seem,
oh, no.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, so engaging.
Oh, that's great.
I would, yeah, beg to
Wow.
have him read to me at night. Hmm.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah,
How fun. Wow. Okay, well, let's talk about health stuff since that's what we're here for.
sure.
Not that that isn't, because that is a very big part of health, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, social
yeah,
connectedness and service, being connected to other people, feeling like you're
yeah, yeah,
putting something positive out into the world vis-a-vis your connections with
yeah,
other people. That's a healthy mindset to have and be able to try to hold on to if
yeah,
you can. Yeah.
yeah. Well, haven't they actually done studies of people like when they're laughing or they're enthusiastic or enjoying things, and all of the good stuff gets real high. I can never remember what
Oh
it
yeah.
is,
Oh,
but
oh, absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So for example, um, the study I read not too long ago, this is surprising. It was shocking in the strength of its conclusion. It was really something. They basically looked at um, how what the effect was by smiling at someone. Okay, so if you just give them your best
Oh, okay.
smile, right?
Yeah.
What's the effect on the receiving side? And they role played and they did some simulations and they gave people
Uh-huh.
money and they saw how happy they got after they gave them certain amounts of money. And basically,
Uh-huh.
here's the kicker: an earnest smile from someone on the receiving side was like receiving $23,000.
Oh my God.
That was the impact. Yes, that strong.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that something? And so
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
remembered that and I've thought, I can give someone $23,000 worth of joy in just a split second if I can give them my sincere smile and just be engaged with them, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very true. It lights you up that much neurologically
Yes.
speaking on the inside, equivalent to that. That was really interesting. Another time I remember reading about laughter's or happiness is the
Mm.
most contagious emotion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
emotions are contagious. You go into a
Yeah.
room, someone's going to set the tone for good or ill, right? And if we ask the question, what's the most immediate and most contagious emotion? It's happiness and it's laughter. It's
Mm-hmm.
like sense of humor. That is the thing that will circuit around the room most quickly and kind of get everyone on the same wavelength, right? Isn't that cool? So something
Uh-huh.
else to consider there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it is. I can't remember now because I had heard something that was also very similar about smiling and how contagious smiling is.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and the other thing I was thinking of as you were talking, and we're talking about service to others, social connectedness, and all
Uh-huh.
this. There have been some experiments done a long time ago now that talked about volunteerism. Okay, and so if you
Oh,
go
okay.
volunteer at the
Yeah.
SPCA or reading to the kids at first grade at your school and all that stuff, basically, for people who are depressed, volunteerism was as effective as an antidepressant. Okay, as effective as an antidepressant was starting to volunteer in their community doing something. Right, it's pretty
Wow.
striking. Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's hmm. Yeah, I
Mhm.
used to volunteer quite a bit actually when I was younger.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, when I was in high school, I went to, help at the hospital, and
Yeah.
that was when I wanted to be a doctor. I got over that real fast.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we missed
sorry
out.
about that.
Our profession suffered a loss there.
Yeah. Yeah. Never did get that. Never did go that way. Didn't take enough science in high school or college. But anyways, um, yeah, it's my husband used to do some volunteerism too, and I can't remember who it was or where it was. It was all the people at the place where he worked,
Hmm.
and they all used to volunteer
Hmm.
for different things, which is not surprising. He worked at a bank, so they were very big into the neighborhood and the
Oh, right. Yeah.
right
Yep.
community. A lot of
Exactly.
community stuff, yeah. And actually, I take that back. He was on the board of a I don't know if you've ever heard of Ritter House
I have
here in the
not.
Bay Area,
Mm.
um, and they provide medical as well as places for people to live
Hmm.
and food and stuff. And he was on the board there for quite a while.
Oh, fantastic.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a neat organization in San Rafael. So, but anyways, we digressed a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
the um, so tell me a little bit. We've kind of gone off on a tangent that you and I both are enjoying, but why don't you tell my listeners a little bit more just about yourself and what you're doing now? You talked about your education and
Yeah.
getting your MD and all of that, but what sort of practice do you have, or who are you serving, and what are you who are you trying to help?
Sure. So I think the best phrase to describe me would be integrative medicine or holistic
Hmm,
medicine physician. So I see
okay,
it as
good.
my role to bring the best of both worlds
Mm-hmm.
together for the patient, right? It's the best of traditional healthcare, whether it's knowing, hey, it's time to order an MRI, or really we need to go talk to a surgeon about this persistent gallbladder pain you seem to be having,
Uh-huh.
right? Or the
Right.
best of natural advice, like we need to get your vitamin D level up. You need more sunlight in the
Mm,
morning. We need to lower your
uh-huh.
stress through some mind body breathing techniques. We need to consider infrared sauna so you can detox a little bit more. There's
Okay.
all sorts. So I never saw it as a dichotomy. I never felt like I had to choose sides or something. I
No.
always saw it as I'm there to be the patient's advocate, to work in their best
Mm,
interest and to pull the best solution from wherever. I don't care if it's
mm-hmm.
making more smoothies with more blueberries, or going and getting your colonoscopy because it's time to do that, and that would be prudent. Like
Yeah.
whatever it would be that would best serve my patient. That's kind of always what I
Mm,
made my job to go figure out. So that's what I
uh-huh.
do. I have a national practice. It would be called a concierge
Oh,
practice. In a sense,
okay.
people pay me and I work with them on different health and wellness topics. Many
Uh-huh.
times people want to work with me almost like a primary care. That can work. I
Uh-huh.
still encourage people to keep their primary care, but we work in parallel pretty nicely, right? So the primary care
Mm-hmm.
is focused on more urgent matters, of course, and things that would require a physical exam, whereas I'm more focused
Okay.
on wellness, prevention, health optimization. And so people will come with a variety of goals and interests. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they want their thyroid checked out. Sometimes they have
Mm,
chronic fatigue. They don't know what the story is. Sometimes they want to talk about brain health and preventing
mm,
dementia or Alzheimer's, or their heart health. They have a high family history of heart problems. Let's say they don't want to
mm-hmm.
be on a statin, or they tried a statin and they got
Right.
brain fog or some other side effect from their statin. They want natural approaches to improving
Yeah.
their cholesterol. So different sorts of health and wellness and anti-aging topics along those lines are what people would typically come to
Mm-hmm.
me for.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, I might have to talk to you after we get off the
Well, okay.
podcast. Oh, yeah. So what, well, probably, I guess this isn't exactly correct, since you're not really doing the primary care, you're doing other things that come up to kind of help people in figuring out
Go ahead
more
and ask.
specific
Yeah,
things.
go ahead and ask your original question though. As if, what if I were a
Oh,
primary care?
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me
Okay.
what was your
Yeah,
question?
no, because I was going to say, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but what are the things that, as people get older, and I'm
Hmm.
talking about, not just over 50, but I mean, as they start heading towards
Sure.
60, 65 and retirement and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff, right?
Yes.
Um, that you think are the most important things that people can do to stay healthy? I
Yes.
mean, it's, I don't want to say, well, as you get older, there are just certain things that don't work as well as they used to,
Sure.
but there are always some things that you can do to either help it or not have it occur quite so early
Oh, definitely.
in
Yes,
things.
absolutely, Susan.
Yeah,
Let's jump in right on that.
yeah.
Sure. I'll start with one that's maybe a little non-traditional, which would be sleep. Okay.
Ah,
Yes, truly paying attention to the quality of your sleep. The more we study sleep,
mm-hmm.
the more important we understand that it is. And there are still a
Yeah.
lot of mysteries to it that we're trying to unravel, right? But sleep obviously will affect things like your mental acuity the next day, your energy level the next day. But what some
Mm,
people don't understand is it affects things including hormonal cycling at night. So, for
mm.
example,
Ah,
men,
okay.
your testosterone level peaks about 8 a.m. And that's based on some hormonal cascades that occur over the night. If you have
Mm.
choppy, disturbed sleep, your morning testosterone level is much, much lower. Okay.
Ah, interesting.
In a
Okay.
similar way, your adrenal function peaks first thing in the morning. If you have choppy, disturbed sleep, your adrenal function's down the next morning. Adrenals being one of the two main hormonal systems involved in energy
Uh-huh.
production. So people
Mm-hmm.
who typically have fatigue right away in the morning and onward very oftentimes have subpar adrenal output.
Mm-hmm.
Also, sleep ends up being related to obesity, again, because of the way that certain
Mm-hmm.
hormones cycle, such as growth hormone. Growth hormone is accentuated during sleep, the initial stages of sleep, you get a big burst of growth hormone, and growth hormone has powerful fat burning properties. However, but it's only released during the deepest stages of sleep. So traditionally we've had 4 stages of sleep, stage 4 being the deepest. That's when growth hormone is released. If you're getting minimal to no stage 4 sleep, which by the way, as you get older, your stage 4 sleep proportion naturally starts to decline. Therefore, your growth hormone level starts to decline. If your growth hormone level is declining, you start to not have as much fat burning from that. But growth hormone also promotes muscle strength. It also promotes soft tissue healing, like ligament, tendon strength. It also, from an anti-aging perspective, promotes telomere length as well. We could talk about telomeres if your client, audience is interested there. So growth hormone is a huge anti-aging concept, which is why some people take growth hormone or things to try to boost their growth hormone. In fact, I just saw something on TV today when I was at the gym this morning. There was some attractive 30 or 40-year-old person talking about take this vial of something else, that's going to keep your growth hormone levels up. Right. So there's a lot of interest around that, but for good reason. But going back then, sleep, hugely overarching for all those. And many times I'll talk to patients and they'll kind of come to terms with really choppy sleep and just figure that it's normal, but it's really not. And it's definitely not optimal. Right. So I'll ask them, well, how's your sleep? They're like, well, I only get up 2-3 times a night, to use the bathroom. I use the bathroom 2-3 times a night. And then, my husband wakes up early at 4 or something. His alarm goes off. I just really don't fall asleep, after that. I'm like, golly, that's very choppy. That's, oh my gosh, your poor hormonal systems. How are those things going to recycle, during that time? Right. So, the pet in the bed that is waking you up at night, and the dog you got to get up in the middle of the night to walk, and you going to the bathroom all the time. It's like that is all interfering with your stages of sleep. You're not getting that rest you need, and so we got to make some lifestyle adjustments, right? So I talk a lot about things simply enough for the bladder to help people not have to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, all the way sometimes to lifestyle things like making sure the room is dark and quiet and cooler, and kicking the pets out of your bed or whatever to actually promote restful sleep. Yeah, hugely important.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that having to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom is not normal. If I use the word, Okay.
Right. At some point in your life, that started.
Don't drink water before you go to bed or something, or.
Right. So, I mean, if you remember, at some point in your life that started, but it didn't always used to be that way, right? I'm sure when you're in your college years or something, you didn't get up in the middle of the night to, use the restroom, right? You probably slept soundly, woke up the next day. Maybe you were late for class because you were sleeping so hard, right? Like that's the zone.
Well, I also wasn't sleeping as long.
Well, true, right? Sometimes
when I was younger.
Yeah, exactly. But on the point of view of the bladder, there are some lifestyle concepts like cutting down your water intake, obviously earlier before bed. For men, we try to get a hold of their prostate size, right? We try not to let that prostate get too enlarged because that'll promote incomplete bladder emptying. And if you have incomplete emptying, then you're going to have more frequency over time to try to deal with a given volume, right? So we try to help the prostate shrink down. But in particular, I think what's been most effective is there's actually a certain medication we can give, which is a synthetic form of a hormone that naturally gets secreted every night from your brain. This is a pretty fascinating hormone called ADH. It stands for antidiuretic hormone. This hormone comes down from your brain, goes to your kidneys, and sends a signal to your kidneys to tell them to hold on to water. Okay, that's the whole function of this.
Okay. If we're in a drought, don't just hold on to it. We're in a drought,
hold on to this water. That's what it says. Exactly. So we can give people a supplemental dose of that ADH hormone at bedtime. Just gives them another little bit of a higher pulse of signal to the kidneys to hold on to water. I'll give you an example of how successful this can be. I had someone who came in, she was concerned about her elderly mom who was in an assisted living facility, and mom's not sleeping well. She's agitated the next day. She's kind of in a fog. She's losing weight. And I dive into more and more what's the problem with her sleep. And they're like, well, first of all, her caregivers have to get her up, 5 or 6 times every night to use the restroom. So she's up and down. Plus she needs help getting up or down out of bed. So you can imagine what a production is, right? You take this
Oh
poor
my
old
God,
lady
yeah.
out of
Oh
bed to
yeah.
the bathroom, do the whole thing, come
By the
back, and
time
this is
she gets
happening
back
I mean,
and she
right.
has to try and get back to sleep, I don't think so.
The poor woman, right. So I
Yeah.
said, we can solve this problem. We can solve this problem. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to solve this problem. So I gave her a nice stout dose of this medication that I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
Sure enough, it was like magic. The daughter calls back. She's like, Mom's been sleeping through the night. She hasn't done that in years. Oh my gosh, Dr. Turner. And she's gaining weight and she's more alert during the day,
Yeah. Oh wow.
and she
I
was going
love
on
it.
and on. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just got her some uninterrupted sleep. Dried that
Wow.
bladder up for a little
Wow.
bit.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I may have to talk to you about that.
It's it's a miracle for people
Yeah.
in
Well,
that kind of situation. It can be life changing. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and even, I mean, even now, I'm definitely not at that,
Mhm.
need to be talking necessarily about my bladder, but, there are some nights where, you drink a glass of water before you go to bed or
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, my problem is I get up, I get back, and then I can't get back to sleep.
Right.
My brain is just like,
Yeah.
and it's always
Yep.
about shit that I shouldn't be thinking about in the first place, right?
I see. Yep.
You know, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Mind kind of getting.
interesting.
Yeah. Yep. The
Yeah,
other
wow.
thing I mentioned, I would say for your listeners, as
Mm-hmm.
regards health tips when you're getting a little older, would be
Yep.
really paying attention to your eating habits, let's just say, and your diet, right? Obviously, you can't get away with things that you used to get away with when you were younger, like eating a whole pint of ice cream or half of a pizza or, whatever. And so, really taking some pains to get the eating dialed in a way that's healthy. Uh, we could talk about what specifically that would look like, but essentially, I'll oftentimes have, let's say, a guy comes to me, he's middle aged, he's like, I want to
Mm-hmm.
get rid of this belly. It's just that my weight's creeping up on me. But he's eating the same way he did back in his 30s or something when he was playing sports and all this, and it's like that's got to change, at some point. So getting the eating habits dialed in right. And then along with that, I'll tie in the idea of supplements. So there's certain supplements that everybody should be taking from an anti-aging and wellness viewpoint. Absolutely every human being, man, woman, or child, without fail. If you're a
Okay,
human and if you're a human
I'll
being and you're
listen
getting
to
older,
this.
then yeah, there are certain
I'll
supplements you
listen to
should
this
be on.
afterwards and write them down. Yeah,
Take
I
some
take a
notes.
whole shitload of supplements. So,
Well, sure, yes. So there are some in particular that have some strong
uh-huh.
bearing
Yeah,
on
good.
anti-aging concepts at a
Uh-huh.
cellular
Yeah.
level. I'm talking about. So I'll just to
Uh-huh.
throw a couple out there. So
Yeah.
omega-3 fatty acids,
Uh-huh.
hugely relevant to your cellular health. They help with mitochondrial optimization, which is basically energy creation within your cell. They also have a role to preserve the length of telomeres, which are these little caps on your
Mm.
DNA. So
Mm-hmm.
omega-3 fatty acids, hugely important from an anti-aging concept. Keeping your vitamin D level up, also
Mm.
likewise hugely important.
Mm.
If you want to do something eye-opening, you can do a little search phrase on like vitamin D deficient mice. And they did these research studies where certain mice are genetically engineered, I believe, to have a non-functional vitamin D gene or something like that. And then they just took pictures of them at time points. And you can see the healthy vitamin D mouse and the one that will lack vitamin D, and the stark difference in aging and robustness of the
Oh,
animal.
yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
striking. So that's one for everybody. Simple, easy, inexpensive. And you should get your
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D level checked, by the way. It's something you should know, almost like your blood pressure or your blood
Yeah.
sugar. It should just
Okay.
be one of those primary care labs. You should know what your vitamin D level is. Vitamin D's got profound anti-cancer properties, for example, profound immune
Okay.
stimulating properties, besides
Okay.
what we know that it does for bone health and muscle strength as
Right.
well.
Right.
Really
Can you
good for
take too much vitamin D?
it's hard to do that. So, theoretically,
Okay.
yes, but it's hard to do that.
Oh,
So
okay. Good.
if you didn't have a blood level check, the average person is going to be perfectly safe to start anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 units once a day. That is perfectly safe.
Whoa.
That will not ever
Okay.
overdose anybody. Okay. If
Okay.
you have your level check and you end up drifting maybe too high, there's adjustments that can be done, but most people are much more on the level of too low than too high, by and large.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. hmm
Okay.
One other supplement that's excellent for aging, by the way, would be called Go-To Cola. A lot of people haven't heard of that. It's sort of a
Yes, I've heard of it.
yeah,
I haven't taken it.
pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, Go-To Cola, Gotukola, is
Uh-huh.
a little leafy plant, almost looks like a lily pad in my mind, but it comes out of Southeast Asia. And from what I understand, the villagers and people would notice that these elephants that were grazing in this certain area were more healthy than the other elephant
Huh.
herds. Okay. And this is
Okay.
where this stuff was growing. And that began the process of them thinking that this was healthy, which
Uh-huh.
involved incorporating it into their folk herbal medicine, which then fast forward to present time became us, studying it and trying to
Yeah.
understand. And turns out Go-To Cola has got some profoundly helpful properties for memory, for the brain, but as far as
Ooh, okay.
aging, towards the line of helping your telomeres stay long. So it
Yeah.
helps promote telomere length, which is a really important concept. That's one of my key anti-aging formulas. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I have read about it, but I haven't
Yeah.
actually tried that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have it in
Yeah.
my medicine cabinet. I don't fail on that. And lastly, I would say helpful concept for your listeners, besides the sleep,
Mm-hmm.
besides really trying to get the eating right and the supplements, would be exercise, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The single most important anti-aging thing that you can do is exercise, bar none. If you just have to pick one thing, it's more important than a low sugar diet. Okay. It's more important than an anti-inflammatory diet. It's more important than sleep. Although, it pains me to say that, right? It's more important than
Yeah.
taking these supplements. It's more important than staying
Uh-huh.
away from McDonald's. If there's just
Yeah.
one thing and all you can do is pick one thing, it's actually consistent
Uh-huh.
exercise is the most overall super potent intervention for healthy aging. And there's multiple reasons for that, but obviously things like heart and lungs, obviously things like strength of bones, strength of muscles, but
Right.
sometimes things that people don't always consider, like brain. Your brain function actually is improved when you exercise in the immediate
Mm.
aftermath. In the immediate aftermath. So
Interesting.
yes,
Okay.
a lot of people don't realize this. There have been studies done. Well, they'll take people and show them 20 random names and faces, let's just say, and you have to try to
Uh-huh.
remember these and match them.
Good luck. Yeah.
And then they'll take half the group and just have them sit in a chair and look out the window and just relax, right? And the
Uh,
other half they put on a stationary bike at a moderate pace. Okay. And then they bring
uh-huh.
them back after 20 minutes and retest them. What happens? Well, voila, the people who are exercising have better recall. Okay. And then they drew blood samples to figure out, was there any detectable difference in their blood? What were we seeing? Right. And it turns out that there's this molecule called BDNF, Barry
An
David,
F. Yes.
yeah, Nancy Fred, BDNF. If your listeners have heard of that, it's worth understanding. Basically, you want more BDNF in your life. Okay. The more BDNF, the better. And exercise creates a big release of BDNF in your brain, which literally strengthens the connections between neurons, makes your neurons more
Okay.
plump, and strengthens
Uh-huh.
neural connections. And so that boost of BDNF ends up in, for example, better recall or better
Mm-hmm.
higher functioning in general. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I think I better start taking a whole huge thing of BDNF a couple times a day. I could use that help.
That, yeah, really helpful molecule.
Yeah, actually it's in, I think I shouldn't be doing this in the middle of that podcast, but I think I have it in here. I could have sworn. Oh, there's Go-To Cola in this.
There you go.
Didn't even know I was taking it. Neurofactor fruit. I don't have my glasses on. Fruit extract. No, that's not it. Could have sworn they had BDNF in here. Nope, guess not.
Yeah. I've never heard it being available as a supplement, actually. It's a molecule in your brain. It stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Neurotrophic factor. Yeah.
But I've never heard that they've been able to, synthesize it and have you take it as a capsule. I'm open to that
Oh,
idea.
okay.
Just never heard of that
Yeah.
so far. So typically
Yeah.
it's more, things that you can take that would promote
Right.
BDNF release,
BDNF.
for
Yeah.
example, or
Got it.
lifestyle interventions like exercising, which directly
Okay.
promotes BDNF
Okay.
release.
Are there any particular, it's not even just types of exercise, but like, in other words, is it exercise that you need to get your heart rate up? Is it a time period? Is it what are you looking for in doing
Good.
exercise?
Good point. Well, I'll answer it in two ways. So the specifics
Okay.
of that study with BDNF and recall and stuff and brain
Mm-hmm.
health, that was cardiovascular. That was getting your heart rate up to a degree and keeping it there, let's say for 15, 20 minutes,
Ah, okay.
not exhausting yourself on the exercise bike,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just kind of steady pace, let's just say, like a brisk
Uh-huh.
walk, something like that.
Okay.
But more generally talking about exercise and health, I would say there are different parameters of exercise, right? Like strength and balance and flexibility and cardiovascular and coordination or agility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
something that would pull those all together is really the best long-term uh,
Okay.
option if you can pull that together. So I'll give you an example. Yoga. Yoga is my all-time favorite
Ah.
exercise because it does everything. You've got strength,
Mm.
you've got
Okay.
flexibility, you've got balance. You even have breathing and staying calm and some mind-body focus to it, right? And then you have a little bit of
Huh.
cardiovascular depending on how intense it gets, but you can do hot yoga and some other things to actually get your heart rate up. So it's
Okay.
perhaps the only exercise I know that does all those so easily, so well with no equipment from the comfort of your home in a 10 by 10 square space, right? Pretty amazing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But beyond that, there are options. Dancing again is fantastic. So if you
Mm.
go to a Zumba class, right, you're obviously getting your heart rate up. You're working on agility and neuromuscular control, coordination,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
balance, right? A little bit of strength and perhaps a little bit of flexibility, but you're also learning something new as well. So that's
Mm.
something that people don't
Mm.
quite understand as well. When you're doing exercise, that's a brain game, essentially. It's another way of keeping your brain healthy. It's no different than doing a Sudoku puzzle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
In just a different way. It's a brain game because if you have to, for example, follow your Zumba instructor or your jazzercise instructor,
Yeah.
then you're looking at them, right? And you're taking that information in and you're trying to pattern your own limb movement after them in
Mm-hmm.
time to the rhythm that you're hearing in the background, in
Yeah.
time to their fast changing calls that they're giving you. Oh, now it's this move. Now it's that move. You got to keep up, right? And their mirror
Right.
image to what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, so it's quite challenging actually. It's a brain puzzle.
Yes.
The brain loves that. Or learning a new dance, for example, if you do
Mm.
couples dancing, ballroom dancing, something like
Mm.
that. Awesome brain challenge. Learning a new pose in yoga, same thing. Learning how to bowl or
Okay.
learning how to play pickleball or tennis, same thing. Your brain
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
has to make these connections between where's my hand in space and how hard is my shoulder muscle supposed to pull forward and where are my feet supposed to be so I stay in balance, etc.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you're challenging
Yeah.
your brain in a different way, just three-dimensionally in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm,
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
mhm,
I'll have to rethink our gym visits.
mhm.
Or at least mine, because I always do the same thing,
Ah, right. I see. Yeah.
weights and walk, fast walking and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Variety is good. And then, yeah, you can think of those, 5 different parameters there of the exercise,
Right.
trying to pull in some
Yeah.
things there. And we talked about this earlier too, Susan, off camera
Uh-huh.
before we got started. But my key
Yeah.
concept with exercise is that it needs to feel fun. That's the first thing I tell people.
Mm.
That's ground rule
So
number
you
one is it
do
needs
it,
to feel fun. Yes,
right?
because
Yeah.
then you're going to keep with it. Otherwise you're just working
Yeah.
off of willpower and you're going to kind of
It
wind
never
down.
lasts.
Right.
Yeah.
The phrase that I use for people is adult recess. Okay. It needs to feel like
Okay.
adult
Uh-huh.
recess, right? So if you harken back to
Uh-huh.
elementary school and we had a recess, that
Yeah.
was fun. The teacher didn't have to tell you, make sure you run around and make sure you get your energy out, make sure you do, it's like the bell rang,
Yeah.
you were sprinting out of the class to go play Foursquare or play tag or do whatever. And it was fun. And nobody had to tell you to go be active, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should feel with whatever you engage
Mm.
with. It should feel like adult recess. Like, hey, I don't have to answer my cell phone. I don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. I'm not responsible to anybody else. This is my free form time to have fun with my body in some way that's going to
Uh-huh.
just feel good and satisfying. That's the concept you're aiming for.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll have to rethink this.
Needs to feel like adult recess. Yep. Because then you're
Mine
going to want
doesn't.
to do, oh yeah, then you're going to want to do it more of it. And
Yeah.
you'll end up getting this positive feedback loop where it's like, I go do my exercise routine, whatever it is, could be Zumba, could be
Mm-hmm.
gym, could be yoga, could be
Yeah.
walking the dog, whatever. And then I feel healthier and stronger and more fit, and my mood goes up, and then I want to do this more, and then I get healthier and stronger and more fit, and my mood goes up, and I want to do it more, and then you just keep spiraling upwards like that. So
yeah. No. I
mm.
always feel better after I've been to the gym.
Oh yeah,
For sure. You
yes.
know, it's just yeah. Do I get excited about it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I get to listen to podcasts. That's the exciting part.
Not so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. Any other suggestions or on your list?
Yeah, well, a couple other things. I think
Uh-huh.
one is getting your hormones tested, actually. So I'm a big fan of understanding your hormonal status, whether it's things like your thyroid being a little off or your adrenals being off, or frankly, postmenopausal hormones and possibility of hormone replacement, or in the case of men, getting your testosterone levels checked and something called DHEA as well. That's an important concept because the hormones, first of all, have roles in your body that are diverse, multi-pronged, multi-impact roles. Okay. They're kind of like a root phenomenon of health and wellness. Yes. So for example, thyroid, if we ask the question, where does your body have a receptor for thyroid hormone? Which means that the thyroid hormone would have a role in that target organ, right? Where do we find that? It's not just like one organ or two organ systems. It's most of your body. Okay. Most of your body's got a receptor for thyroid because it's going everywhere and doing all this stuff. Same thing for vitamin D. If you just, you can do an internet search on where does the body have vitamin D receptors? You find out it's most everywhere. By the way, vitamin D is actually a hormone. It got misnamed when it was, when it was correct. When it was discovered in the 20s or whatever we thought it was a vitamin, it's really a hormone. So same thing, hormone D, receptors for that are pretty much everywhere. They're ubiquitous. So when we consider that, and then we consider that slowly hormone levels decline over time, you could think of it as simply the aging process of the ovaries, for example, or the aging process of the thyroid gland or whatever. Well, then it comes down really to a philosophical question, right? So we can sit there and we can say to this, let's say 70-year-old guy, well, you're feeling tired, you're slower, you've gained some weight, you're not as sharp mentally.
You're hunched over more.
You're hunched over, you don't have any motivation to exercise, you don't have any sex drive, and you're feeling just kind of blah. And your testosterone's basically normal for a 70-year-old guy, so it is what it is. It's the aging process. Okay. But in my mind, that's the laziest way to think about it, and the least helpful for the patient, right? So what if we said, hey, this may be normal for a 70-year-old, granted, but maybe you don't have to feel this crummy exactly. Like maybe you could feel better than that, So what if we just turn back time a little bit and perked up your body with the level of hormones that you had when you were 35? Let's just say, how much different might you feel? You used to have that level of hormone in your body, right? And here's the other interesting thing. I'll just use example of men. A guy's testosterone requirement at 70 is the same as his testosterone requirement at 40 or 20 or whatever. It's the same.
Interesting.
It's the same because it's based on your stature. It's based on your height, your basic bone structure, your weight, right? And the fact that you're a male. So your three-dimensional structure plus your male gender equals a certain amount of testosterone that's going to fuel the machine, let's just say. That need never changes, but it's just your body's output does change, right? So when we restore that back to a more youthful level, it's amazing the benefit that people feel. And that's a striking anti-aging intervention, really, is hormone replacement. I'm a big fan of it. There's only a small reasons not to do it that are few and far between. So I'd say by and large, if we had to paint with a broad brush, most people should strongly consider it, getting their levels tested and doing it under some supervision.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I know I did some of it actually for a while. In my 50s. I guess it was my late 40s, early 50s. And then it just kind of, didn't quite feel right. So Not that I mean, I wasn't feeling as good,
Yeah.
as when I had first started it. And so I
Okay.
kind of stopped it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Interesting. So is that with men?
Yeah.
Is that I'm trying to think how to what was I going to ask? Um is it okay. Is it something that they should start looking at earlier? Like the same time like women do, or is that something that for them happens later in life? You know?
Yeah, good question. It's a little bit later, but not much, let's just say,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd say it's fair game for a guy to start thinking about his testosterone levels in his 40s.
Uh-huh.
That's
Okay.
definitely fair game.
Yeah.
50s.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Especially if you're
And
having
yeah,
symptoms.
go ahead.
Yeah, especially if you're
Okay.
having possible symptoms. I mean, just generally, it's a number
Mm.
that everybody should know at that point in their lives. But if you're having some
Mm-hmm.
symptoms referable to
Yeah.
low testosterone, then certainly.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. And it's only you can only up your testosterone by actually taking hormones, or is there something else? Does exercise help, or any of the anything else?
There are a
Out of
lot of natural
curiosity.
ways. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
great
okay.
point. There are a lot of natural ways short of taking testosterone. I actually have I did a whole podcast guest spot called How to Boost Your Testosterone
Oh,
Naturally, by the
uh-huh.
way, which I could help, make available to you through a link or something like
Yeah.
that. But yes, so to hit a couple, for example, we talked about sleep, right? Quality sleep
Uh-huh.
equals quality testosterone production the next morning at 8 a.m. If you're up 4 times going to the bathroom, you're not sleeping deeply during each of those times when you should have been making testosterone.
Ah,
So there's
not
that.
deep enough. Yeah.
Correct. Number two, exercise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
some people might not realize is when you exercise, you create hormonal changes afterwards.
Ah.
You stimulate, you induce the creation
Mm-hmm.
of a new surge of certain hormones. For example, growth hormone
Okay.
goes up after you exercise.
Oh, okay.
Yes, to a greater degree in response to more intense exercise. But when you exercise, you're going to have a burst of growth hormone shoot through your body for several hours afterwards. Same thing with
Ah,
testosterone, assuming you're not over
okay.
exercising. But yes, if
Yeah.
you do some strength training, you will get a burst of testosterone. So we get
Oh,
guys
okay.
sleeping, we get guys doing some consistent strength training. This is more along the lines of like lifting weights and lifting heavier weights,
Yeah.
not light stuff
Right.
sitting at a machine, but more,
Right.
kettlebells or dumbbells or swinging
Ah,
ropes
okay.
or,
Got it.
flipping over a tire or
Uh-huh.
snatching an Olympic weight above your head, something like that.
Uh-huh.
More aggressive, full body type movements. So that's something natural
Hmm.
that'll help bring up the testosterone. And then there are certain herbs and supplements that can do this as well to a degree. Things like maca, M-A-C-A. You guys might have
Uh-huh.
heard of that. There's
Uh-huh.
an herb called tribulus that's used
Hmm.
sometimes.
Haven't
Ginseng,
heard of that. Ginseng. Yeah.
something called Fidogia, Fidogia, sort of a newer
Huh.
concept that's came on the scene somewhat recently. But basically, some different herbs that are known to stimulate testosterone production.
Hmm.
These are oftentimes sold as a multi-ingredient, male health formula, something like that.
Ah, okay.
So there's some different
That would make
ones
sense.
that
Mm-hmm.
can be helpful. So
Mm-hmm.
and the quality of a guy's diet as well, and things like avoiding alcohol. That's a negative on
Mm.
testosterone synthesis.
Okay. So never having a drink, or just don't overdo it and have it all the
Not
time.
overdoing it. Not overdoing
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And just losing weight in general too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't quite realize guys have an enzyme called aromatase, and this is
Uh-huh.
concentrated in fat tissue. And the enzyme aromatase has a very negative effect on your testosterone levels because its job is to take testosterone and
Mm.
turn it into estrogen. That's its job. Okay. Guys do
Oh,
need a
okay.
certain amount of
Yeah.
estrogen, just like women need a
Yeah.
certain amount of testosterone. The ratio is obviously
Right.
different. Aromatase enzyme is how guys make estrogen for the most part. We take our circulating pool of testosterone, we siphon off a portion of it with this enzyme, we create estrogen. The enzyme is concentrated in your fat cells, meaning
Mm-hmm.
as you gain fat mass, you are
Mm-hmm.
having higher levels of this enzyme. Your estrogen levels will rise and your testosterone levels will drop just based on being overweight.
Ah,
The opposite is true. If you just simply
Okay.
lose weight, the testosterone will slowly rise, the estrogen will slowly come down. So
Huh.
a benefit of weight loss.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I could have come up with a whole bunch of other questions, but we're kind of running out of time here.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, no, I think all of that is really interesting and very valuable, because I think there's a lot of wrong information out there.
Mm.
Whether people get it from TV or all those magazines or whatever that are
Yeah.
on the stand. You know, um, so I think it's important for people to, even if you're not doing a deep dive, right? But it's
Right.
enough that it gets into people's brains, and then they can go and Google it, hopefully
Yes.
at a
Yes.
fairly good site, because that's a whole nother
Mm-hmm.
another bailiwick that we won't talk about. But that's because I think there's a how can I put this, that there's a feeling or a idea
Mm-hmm.
that's out there that once you hit a certain age, that there really isn't much you can do about it.
Mm. Right, right.
You
Oh,
know?
that's too bad. We have to, I guess, aggressively deconstruct that notion, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just
yeah.
give you an example. This was striking to me. This was
Uh-huh.
one of the first times that this really came across in such a way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this is probably back in maybe college, early days of med school or something, but I read about this study that they had done where they took people in assisted living or nursing home situations.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Mhm. And they put them on a weight training regimen, a strength training regimen. They sat down at the leg press machine, and
Uh-huh.
lifted up the little leg sled and other things. They had them weightlifting, right? And first of all, this was seen to be sort of maverick and out of the box, because you're asking these older people to lift weights. Are they going to hurt themselves? What's going to happen, right?
Right.
Well, they had it, a safe, appropriate weight training. And
Uh-huh.
first of all, people didn't hurt themselves. But number two, what happened was they started falling less. They actually gained strength. They actually gained muscle mass. And this was nursing home residents. So they showed that
Wow.
nursing home resident and average age 80 or 85 and whatever was not incapable of gaining strength, gaining muscle mass, and having a greater functional outcome on
Wow.
some simple strength training like 3 times a week. Yeah, that was pretty groundbreaking. That was done in the late 90s.
Wow.
We can fast forward. There's a whole, realm of research about gerontology and healthy aging, but that was pretty eye-opening for me. So yes, the answer is it's never too late.
Mm-hmm.
And your body's still capable of remodeling and responding far beyond when we probably think it is. We probably quit too early. I think our minds tell us that something can't happen and our
Yes.
body follows rather than vice versa.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, again, it's social, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people who are telling us that are the same people who were told that when they were our age.
Ah, I see. Right.
It's like handed down information.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And it's never really had an intervention anywhere.
Yep. Yep. Just kind of
Yeah.
uncritically passed down. Sure.
Uh-huh.
Well, I always
Yeah.
found Jack LaLanne, for an example, as such
Oh,
an
yes.
inspiration, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, what an
Mm-hmm.
inspiration. Here he was at older
Oh,
ages doing things that were truly
yes.
unbelievable, eye-opening stuff. You're like, this isn't
Yeah.
possible. If I weren't seeing it and reading about it, this wouldn't be possible, right? But in doing
Yeah.
that, he was a trailblazer. He showed what could be done,
Yes.
with the human body if you
Uh-huh.
had that
Uh-huh.
level of training and discipline. And it's inspiring,
Yeah. Oh, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But there isn't anybody out there like that anymore.
Yeah, we're looking for the next guy. He was unique. He was special. He was
Yeah,
a
he was.
blessing to humanity, really.
And that was a long time ago,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
besides, and there still hasn't been anybody, I'm maybe on cable or on YouTube or someplace
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
There are things like that. but who knows, right? I haven't spent that much time looking for it. Maybe I should.
There's some people out
So,
there. Yeah, there's some people out there
yeah.
doing inspiring things. Oh yeah, yeah. Even at older ages.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you an example. I just saw. I've gotten into swimming lately, so I've been doing a lot of lap swimming. So I
Okay.
watch swimming videos on YouTube. Okay, and so Australia, by the way, is a country that's very big into swimming. They have a very strong
Oh,
culture.
yes.
Yeah, very strong swim
Yes.
culture, outstanding
Yes.
Olympic team, etc. So a lot of the videos come out of Australia. So there was this one where it said, Miles something something Australian name, sets the world record for 100-year-old or greater age group in like the 100 freestyle. Okay. And I'm watching this
Wow.
guy. He's got his little yellow swim cap up. He steps up to the blocks to dive in the pool. I'm like, oh my God. First of all, he's 100 and he's ambling up on this block and like crouching down the whole thing, right? Boom, the gun goes off. He actually jumps, okay, lands, and just takes off,
Uh-huh.
and he's doing a stroke,
Yeah.
and I'm just truly inspired and shocked. He's up and down the pool. He has a decent time, even for someone, let's say, who's a regular swimmer of
Yeah.
average age 40, 50, like that's decent. And of course, it was world record if you're over 100. I mean, it was
Yeah.
amazing. Talk about inspiring. He came back, and I said to myself, oh my God, I can't believe I saw that. 100-year-old guy jump in the pool and go that fast back and forth. I wouldn't have thought it was
Wow.
possible, honestly, until you see it done
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So, mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was something.
Interesting. Well, on that note, we'll both hope that we are that spry at
Yep.
100.
Yep.
For sure. For sure. And it probably, we're coming up on an hour. We probably
Sure.
should cut this off. Otherwise, we go too much more. I'll have to make it into 2 podcasts. Be better
No
to just
problem.
do a second one. Anyways, so I will I will wrap this up. It's always so funny to say this when I have a doctor that I'm talking to. Anyways, first off, let me say that this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. He's a doctor, but it doesn't count for a podcast. And and if you're having medical issues, then go see your doctor, or you can always get in touch with Michael, but that'll be in his medical role, not a podcaster role. But in the meantime, thank you very much. This was really very enjoyable and very informational, and I think also for all my people who watch. And with that, I will say to everybody else, I will be talking to all of you next week.